In this video, we'll take an in-depth look at the new book, With or Without, by Rick Lawler. First off, I'd like to thank Rick for generously supplying this review copy and a signed copy to boot.
Oh, this is a good one.
This book is from the Master Modelers series under the Abteilung 502 brand. It's number 1 in the series, and the publication number is ABT 801. Alright, we're going to go through this book page by page so you can all get a good look at what's inside the book, and I'll go through each build giving you a little breakdown of how Rick prepared each chapter. Of course, my favorite part of the book is the signing. Thanks again, Rick. Next page we have the content, as in most books. Next is the introduction, and Rick goes through a little bit of his backstory, talking about his early childhood and how he became intrigued with the modeling world, and talking about some of the influences in his life, his father being one of them, grandparents buying him his first model, and this book being the Bible of all books, How to Build Dioramas by Shep Payne. I'm sure many of you have read it, and any of you old-timers like myself and Rick grew up with this book and studied it page by page, and I still have my signed copy, which is a treasured item in my book collection. Rick's work has been published in many model magazines. He's written many articles and has done several seminars in the US and abroad. Rick has also worked for many different modeling companies throughout his career, which include MIG Productions, Ammo by MIG, and presently he works with AK Interactive. This is Rick's first solo book featuring only his work. The theme of the book is to explore some of the choices we make as modelers, whether to sand a seam on a model, use a certain type of cement, or many of the decisions we need to make while creating our projects. So the whole concept of this book is to do 2 of, one with and one without. So in the first example here, you see 2 Hetzers, one with photo etch and all the extras, one built right out of the box. So he does a side-by-side build, and as you can see, he goes into a lot of detail, dealing with the photo etch, dealing with metal parts, how to create certain things like weld beads or adding more bolt heads to certain areas, and then showing areas like this where it's comparing the 2 parts, you know, the parts built out of plastic and the parts built with the extra details. And again, it's all side-by-side comparisons, giving a good description throughout of the process that he's going through. And I really like this concept. I think this is a unique book. I don't know if I've seen a book done like this before, showing the same 2 items done a different way. I have seen it in some figure painting books where people will take the same figure and paint it in different styles, but I don't know if I've seen it in an armor book before, or a book about vehicles. And I just love the detail shots, and the photography is excellent in this book. The next chapter is dealing with 2 Panthers, the same model built up, but done in an unpainted version and a painted version. And as you can see, it's all done side by side. Everything is compared and shown as exactly the same in each case with the same detail parts. It's the painting process on this particular model that is the with or without, meaning with camouflage and without camouflage. And again, he goes through lots of detailed steps on how to achieve these effects on the vehicles, from chipping to scratches effects, and he really shows how to work with the AK pencils and adding different types of filters and washes to achieve these finishes. And again, I'm really impressed with the photo quality of this book and the layout. The layout's easy to read. I like that the descriptions match the photos with the numbers. That's always nice to have in there, so it's easy to follow and see exactly what he's talking about throughout the whole procedure. The next one, With or Without, is about airbrush. So here he does virtually everything by hand, just using spray cans to apply the base coats, and then going in and hand detailing everything by brush. The most interesting part of this particular chapter that I really liked was he shows how to use the pencils to create this soft edge camouflage. So when you look at the photograph here, it looks like it's airbrushed on, but he's done everything with pencil and just different techniques to create this soft edge camouflage. And I think I'd like to try that sometime, because that's a really useful technique in my opinion. And then he also goes through how to do a hard edge camouflage by brush. And that's just a matter of thinning down the paint and doing multiple coats to create that hard edge look. The last chapter here deals with this M8 Greyhound, and again it's the same kit built up, done exactly the same. I really like the weathering effects and the final finish of the vehicle here that Rick did. He's used a lot of pencil techniques and different types of weathering methods using these pencils to create this very dusty, multi-layered mud look on the vehicle. And he goes through the whole how to achieve that look with the AK pencils. So Rick explains this project the whole with or without, being the without using pigments. He did not use any pigments on this particular model, and that's something he really likes to use when he creates his weathering. So he excluded any pigments and he did all the weathering with using various other types of materials. And the materials were ranging from, again, AK pencils to different types of foliage. He also used some earth out of his backyard and mixed that up with some of the pastes to create some of these effects. And then you can see here he does a whole added diorama to the model and adds figures. So he's adding a lot more to than just the model. He actually builds the diorama to go with the model. And then the final section is the modeler's portfolio, and this just sums up a lot of Rick's work over the years. You may have seen some of these dioramas or models in other publications and books, but as far as I'm concerned, the final photos here showing all the excellent work of Rick's is kind of the pinnacle of this book. The other parts are great too. I really like the how-tos, but for me the real essence of the book is looking at all these great models at the back. They're photographed really well. The colors are great. The images are very clear. I mean, it just doesn't get much better than this for photography. And I believe Rick takes all his own photos. That's a nice bonus to be able to have in your tool arsenal is photography, because that's probably one of the hardest things for most of us to deal with when we're building models, is getting some decent final photos of our models as good in photographs as they do in real life. And there's even a little bit of sci-fi here. And then of course at the very end we have The Burden of Sorrow, probably one of my favorite pieces Rick's ever done. So as you can see, Rick has done a lot of work over the years, probably more models than I'll ever build in my lifetime. And the quality of the work is always outstanding with every piece. Well, I hope you enjoyed that book review. I know I'll certainly be using a lot of the photographs from that book in my next build. So if you like what I'm doing here, please consider subscribing, hit that bell notification below, and probably one of the most important things you can do for me is give this video a like. That lets YouTube know that you enjoyed this video, and they'll recommend it to others just like you. Alright, that's a wrap. I will see you guys in the next video. And remember to keep those brushes wet.